new set of trans-friendly vocabulary words being pushed by activist groups, including the return of front hole to replace the word vagina. Isn't it amazing how hypocritically woke sex warriors have no problem objectifying female bodies, front holes, in the name of so-called sexual liberation and inclusion? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we look at a Pennsylvania college that has voted to remove a specific brand of hummus because the company tangentially supports Israel. Michigan State University votes to ban lunch trays to help the environment. Plus, the phrase, "Okay, boomer," is apparently now offensive in Miami. But we start with the Human Rights Campaign and shocking new mandates for trans-friendly sex terms that are confusing and, quite frankly, offensive. Just a warning to moms and dads out there. This first story is going to show you some imagery and may include a little language that you might deem inappropriate for your little kids.
Again, as a disclaimer, if you have little kids in the room right now, you may want to have them step out, mom and dad, because there is some obscene language, but it's coming directly from the Human Rights Campaign, which just released a guide. It's called the Safer Sex for Trans Bodies. And this guide has transgender friendly sex terms, including front hole and strapless. And it was actually first released back in 2016, but now there have been some viral tweets that have gone out, and so everyone's looking at this again.
Look at the hypocrisy about how this gender bending is working. And again, this far-left nonprofit Human Rights Campaign wants to demand that these terms replace traditional terms in all your kids' education. They want doctors and doctors' offices to be forced to speak this way. Look at under the term dick, which we know as a euphemism for penis, right? So a dick, according to this new campaign, we use this word to describe external genitals. Doesn't matter if it's female or male. We use this word to describe external genitals. Dicks come in all shapes and sizes and can belong to people of all genders. That there is physiologically impossible. It is gibberish and garbage. Now go back. So a dick applies to much more than a dick. The masculine appendage applies both to male and females. Look at how the female sexual organ is treated. The actual name vagina, which is an exclusively female thing, has been utterly replaced with the completely dehumanizing and objectivizing term front hole. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, this would have been an objectification of women, right? To refer to any aspect of their anatomy as a front hole. But you go ahead and look at the description here. We use this word to talk about internal genitals. Right? Internal genitals, sometimes referred to as a vagina. A front hole may self-lubricate depending upon age and hormones. So clearly, there's a discriminatory nature of the way the two things are described and the two functions. They're pretending that both vaginas are for men and women and dicks are for men and women. Front holes are both. But you look at the language there and you see a very, very dangerous, and I would argue highly sexist, difference in the way you explain those two terms.
And it's completely confusing to any logical, common sense person. So me, a biological woman, is supposed to say that I have a front hole, but if I was a man who had what they're calling the bottom surgery, this means that I can then say I have a vagina. So me as a biological woman cannot say that I have a vagina, but that I have a front hole, but then men get to say they have a vagina. This makes absolutely
so for you, the woman, it's a front hole. But for the guy who has a surgery, he has a vagina, right? And so you can see, again, what you have here is discriminatory These are not inclusive pronouns. These are not inclusive ways of speaking. These are not inclusive vocabulary words. They are very specific and anatomically incorrect, biologically unverifiable, completely subjective and made-up terms that do nothing else but utterly deconstruct typical, traditional, scientifically underwritten biology.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Thanks for the tip.
Do you see the endless grasping the endless political correctness, the endless brainwashing need to affect not just what you say, but how you say it and when you say it and how you should say it if you're this kind of a person. The way they judge you if you're not trans, the way they assume things and stereotype you if you're not like them, if you happen to be straight and traditionally gender-oriented. This whole thing is a complete frickin' scam, and it's offensive as hell.
We're going to go on the college campus and talk about hummus. Because on college campuses, you ban hummus. Of course you ban hummus because it may be associated with Israel. This is happening specifically at Dickinson College.
Wait, wouldn't that be Front Holinson College?
No, because Dick could go, well,
yeah, see,
or
Dickinson
strapless.
College.
We didn't even talk about that.
He may have to change the name of that college.
Well, at Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the student government decided that they must lead the charge to ban hummus. But not just any hummus, Sabra hummus. Because in a resolution, classic Sabra hummus, it tastes good. A resolution, as they called it, to endorse the banning of Sabra hummus from the Devil's Den. Apparently that's, one of the places on campus. Devil's Den. It's really, really telling. But anyway, they called for endorsing the discontinuation of the sales of the Sabra products starting in this upcoming semester because Sabra hummus is a brand that is partially owned by the Strauss Group, okay? And that company financially and morally supports the Golani and Givati Brigade of the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF. So, because Sabra hummus is then partially owned by them, and then they may partially own this and then that, yeah, of course, it makes perfect sense.
But it's perfectly woke and acceptable to eat hummus produced by countries that support Hamas, right? Middle Eastern countries who support terrorists and jihadis, their produce, their hummus, their gasoline, which fuels your stupid college, right? That's acceptable because, to support groups that attack and destroy Israel, that's just resistance.
As the resolution states, these brigades of the IDF commit human rights abuses against Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. Additionally, they say the resolution continues that the support of Sabra products would help the Strauss Group support the Israeli defense. So if you're just a college kid who has some carrots and they're looking for a little dip of Sabra hummus, you're out of luck. No more eating healthy for you. Back to the Cheetos.
The author of the resolution, Senior Henry Cohen, and is it my imagination or does that sound like a Jewish name? It kind of is, isn't it? I'm not suggesting that Mr. Cohen is Jewish. I don't know. But it would not surprise me if this person was Jewish, having been educated in a very liberal way to despise his own people. I wonder about it. Author of the resolution is a senior by the name of Henry Cohen, and this senior explained that, quote, "This specific action is about taking the moral high ground. Throughout my life, I guess he is Jewish. I have stood in contrast to my Jewish neighbors, I assume maybe he is, on the issue of Israel, at the cost of alienation and exclusion," right? So he has taken a different view than other Jews that he knows in his life, and they've hurt him for that. They have failed to include him. And so your response to that is, let's not include Sabra hummus in our kids' food opportunity. So if you're a liberal, how do you whine about not being included? By turning around and trying to not include people.
Yeah, and the best part is the fact that this was supposed to be, in the name of inclusivity, they had to come back with a second resolution because the original resolution didn't actually consider the whole community who would be affected by this banning. So Sabra hummus is sold in the Devil's Den, and it's one of the only kosher and vegan options that is offered on the campus. Now, in the dining halls, I guess they don't have Sabra hummus, but at the Devil's Den. So they came back with the second reading on the first resolution, but they included the statement, Sabra hummus would be replaced with another kosher hummus product in the interest of maintaining kosher students' ability to feed themselves on campus.
Why are we offering kosher meals if I happen to be halal? Why are we offering kosher meals if, as a Christian, I'm offended by that? Why is that who you care about? Oh, and by the way, kosher meals apply to Jews. Jews are the people in Israel. Israel is the people apparently oppressing the West Bank. Why aren't all Jews responsible for the oppression of the West Bank, just Israeli Jews, just some Israeli Jews, when all Christians are responsible for the Crusades, for instance, right? Go ahead.
It goes back to the point we always talk about, though. Our students your students, I guess, come into college, my peers, and they can't read and they can't do math, but apparently they can take, I don't know how much time to research who owns Sabra Hummus to know if they are supporting Palestine or if they're part of Israel or whoever they're doing. And yet they can't read.
These kids didn't research this. Some adult faculty member agitator who gets tenure on doing this kind of research mentioned into one of these liberal progressive student identity groups that you do realize that the hummus you eat in the cafeteria goes to the murdering of West Bank Palestinians, right? I could just see some professor of gender and women's studies and frontholery expounding on that particular discussion at Dickinson College.
Well, we're going to go to Michigan State, where they are also having ideas about what should happen with food. This time it's about what the food should go on, the cafeteria trays. But Michigan State University student government says they want to do away with the cafeteria trays in fall of 2020 because they want to be eco-friendly. Bill 5630 states that MSU prides itself on sustainability, but it lacks this key policy to promote a greener future. And they want to help the students' diets. Within this resolution, it actually says that by getting rid of the trays, reducing the tray usage would improve the health of students.
We have a student here, Olivia Prince, a junior in special ed, right? Maybe she's a customer, not just a student of special ed. Olivia Prince said, quote, "I took a class this semester learning about our carbon footprint, which leads to global warming. Something simple like this could make a huge impact." But here's the thing that I wonder, because many kids come and get those meals to go. What are you going to put them in now, right? You're not going to put this food on trays. I assume what this means is you're going to go out and buy a whole bunch of dishes, right? Because what else can you can't just plop the food on the table, right? And you certainly, right, Michigan State, you're certainly not going to use styrofoam. No. So you're going to have to go out and buy dishes, right? So you're going to spend more money on dishes instead of the trays. Then you're going to have to wash the dishes and wash them more often, which means you're going to actually have to use more water, more electricity, more heat, right? And then those dishes are going to break, right? And then what are you going to do? You're going to buy dishes small enough to limit kids' portions like you want to do with the trays? Then you're going to have to use multiple dishes because you know what's going to happen. Kids who don't get enough food in the first little dish are going to come back for the next one. So in what possible way are you fixing anything with this?
I am so happy that you picked up that she was a special education major, because I put this in specifically. There were a bunch of students who spoke about their opinions on this. And I picked poor Olivia because she says, as a special education major, I took a class this semester. I guarantee you, I would put money on saying that class, that semester, was a special education or something within the education department talking about learning about the carbon footprint and global warming, because that's what our education classes do.
The implication of her question seems to be that they talked about this in class. I took a class on our carbon footprint. I'd love to know what that was, which leads, of course, to global warming. Something simple like that. She got that from a teacher.
Well, absolutely.
That the same idiot teacher who called out Sabra Hummus at Dickinson, her counterpart here did the same thing, right? And so it's like the hair club for men, right? Not only am I a customer. What do you know about that? Not am I an owner, I'm a customer, right? I'm a client. Not only am I a special needs potential teacher, I'm also a client. Ooh. I'm also special needs myself. Because this kind of moronic do-goodism, this look around our campus and find the most absurd ways to make the university spend more money to save money, make the university jump through all sorts of hoops that involve electricity and water and heat to make us feel like we've done something useful.
Yeah, but then I can take a picture of me being so eco-friendly here in the cafeteria, put it on my Instagram. You don't even know what that means.
I wish to God that they really did get rid of everything. So these kids would show up at the cafeteria at Michigan State and they'd have to do this. And they'd get stuff just dumped into their hands. I'd give a week's salary for that. Can you imagine? And shame those kids. Any of those kids that go to get a plastic fork or even a metal fork, which has to be washed, shame them. Make them eat with their hands. And any that spills, starving kids in Indochina, lick it up. Right? Make them get on their hands and knees and lick it up. Let's expose them to the stupidity of their own choices.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be great?
I see
Can't you just see the entire faculty and staff and the student body of Michigan State lining up at the cafeteria, and you couldn't put bibs on?
This is true.
Non-biodegradable. No. I mean, what would you do?
You can't even
just slop it in their hands.
And you can't use your plastic straws to drink out of. So
no, can't use straws.
Up like dogs. Just lap up that water.
Let's make them live. Let's make them actually think through the consequences of what they've chosen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, boomer. We're going to go to the University of Miami because now the phrase, okay, boomer, is offensive. Basically, this phrase became popular And it's meant to be a dismissive remark aimed at baby boomers who were anyone out there. If you're a baby boomer, roughly the ages are from if you're born between 1944 and 1964, the 20 years after the war. And it's perceived by the younger generations as those people who are out of touch, technologically impaired, politically old-fashioned even. And the phrase... Unwoke, yeah. It debuted on this social platform called TikTok. And I'm a boomer. You can call me OK Boomer. Someone tried to insult me and called me OK Boomer the other day because I don't even know what TikTok is. But
you're also not a boomer in terms of birth.
Yes, but they think I am a boomer. Yeah.
I'm not even a boomer.
But Barbara Gutierrez, who is at the University of Miami, she is the Associate Director of Communications and Public Relations. She published an article basically calling the phrase dismissive and that, quote, older folks may see it as a manifestation of polarization and intolerance for diverse views.
You know, that's the first thing I hear when somebody pops a slur at me.
Absolutely.
I go into sort of lit crit think, you just called me a stupid dago being Italian. My first thought is, how does this reify my being into hostility-driven ways? Yeah, that's my first reaction.
Absolutely.
And I also got to ask the question, what does this mean for the Oklahoma Sooners?
Oh, that is
Boomer Sooner.
They're trying to get rid of that.
Sooner.
They are trying to get rid of both Boomer and Sooner.
Talk about, this is even more offensive Boomer Sooner than the Native American mascots. I mean, Native American mascots just offend Native Americans, right?
Yeah.
Boomer Sooner offends all old people. It's anti-geriatric at its core.
Poor things, I guess. Also from the article, boomers can relish their past activism, but should realize that Generation Z and millennials are navigating different lives, said some of the students that were interviewed.
Yeah, in other words, Grandpa, when you fought to keep kids off your lawn and you fought for greener grass, you were doing something in the Stone Age, but we're the really woke ones, right?
What's so fascinating to me is all these kids love Bernie Sanders, but Bernie's older than a boomer. So, like, you skip the boomer generation, which are the ones in the 60s who were the radicals. And
he is the grampy. The only way, it's clear from watching Bernie that the only way he's fighting global warming is giving up bathing.
And that will wrap up this week. Were you offended? Let us know in the comments. Meanwhile, if you'd like to support this program, please consider joining our Patriot Club for $25 a month. Visit drdukeshow.com to get started.
If you have a business, large or small, we'd love to partner with you. Visit freedomproject.com/advertise, freedomproject.com, advertise to learn more. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and until next time, can we please stick to basic, non-political medical terms for our junk? And stay educated, my friends.